Before we start the meeting, I'd like to say that this is a public meeting. If there's an item on the agenda which you wish to be heard, you are asked to complete a blue speaker slip, and submit it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council, successor agency to the RDA, and successor agency, housing agency, are not required to identify themselves. However, this information assists the mayor by ensuring that all persons wishing to address the council are recognized, and also assists the city clerk in preparing the city council meeting minutes. When the item is announced and your name is called by the mayor, please step to the podium and state your name for the record. Unless the mayor extends the time, there is a 3-minute time limit for each public presentation. If you wish to address the council, successor agency to the RDA, or successor housing agency concerning any other matter not appearing on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment portion of the agenda. We'll start with roll call, please.
Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Oliva.
Present.
Councilmember Villegas Walker is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson
Here.
and Mayor Silva.
Present. And I think I'd like to say that Councilmember Villegas Walker is attending a league function, right? Correct? Well, let's have Mayor Pro Tem Jackson lead us in the pledge, and Councilmember Oliva and the invocation, please.
Please join me in saluting our flag and our country. Ready, begin.
Y'all, please remain standing and just bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we gather here to do the people's work. Please give guidance and wisdom to the council members as we deliberate on items before us. We ask that you look over those in need of your guidance, and for those of us with benefit and opportunity to please have empathy towards others that are struggling. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. We have a report from our city attorney on closed session matters, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have no reportable action from closed session. However, we do need to complete the closed session with 2 additional items very, very briefly at the conclusion of this meeting, if you would be so nice as to return to closed session.
Thank you so much. I think we'll do that. There are no presentations and announcements today by the mayor. We do have a number of scheduled public comments. First, we're going to receive introduction of the El Centro PD Explorers. Chief Johnson.
Honorable Mayor, council members, in light of many people being sick this evening, I'm going to keep my comments very short. What I'd like to do is call up Sergeant Thompson, and he's going to introduce our second graduating class of our post 1908. So without further ado, Sergeant Thompson.
Mayor, City Council, I want to thank you for your time in recognizing this program, because these men and women behind you, and I call them men and women because they may be kids, but they're mature, they're learning leadership, they're growing every day, and I'm very proud of them. I want to mention first that Detective Chopa is the supervisor of this unit. And he's the one that deserves a lot of the credit for its successes. However, he's more sick today than I am, so. The city council and the police department has supported our program greatly, and I think that our explorers are a product of that support. It's the only program that I've been involved in where we actually celebrate our members leaving. And I mean that in Class 1, we only have 8 members left. And that's because they're going off to military, college, other, endeavors in life, career-wise, school. And we're proud of these kids because they're growing up, and this is exactly what the program was set out to do. So I'm going to introduce our class leader for both groups, Giselle Machuca. She's the one that's in charge of both of the classes. Class 1, I know that we We recognize them when they graduated. They've done a fine job of helping Class 2 along. And so would you guys just like to have Class 2 come up?
Yes, of course.
Okay, why don't you guys go ahead and come up? We currently have 14 members in Class 2 and 8 in Class 1. As Class 1, we anticipate that more are going to leave with this coming up graduation. They've expressed interest to go into the military. Some are going off to college.
I'm just gonna do this because I don't want to get you guys sick.
Evening. Evening. Evening.
I'm sorry.
Good evening.
I don't want to get you guys sick.
Evening.
I don't want to get you guys sick.
Evening. Evening. Evening.
Thank you so much.
So we anticipate,
Maybe we can set it. We
I figured you guys were going to come down for a picture. We anticipate more of them leaving, but we're already working on our third class. We have a lot of support from our chief, and we have a lot of Class 2 that are ready to help us with Class 3. So, you know, if you guys have any questions or,
Looks like you can also field a small football team with the size of these young men.
well, it's not just the size, because their tenacity is, we've been working the tug of war. We just purchased a rope for the Murrieta Explorers Conference. And you'd be surprised, man. They do really well. They do really well.
So if you don't mind, we're gonna hear from their leader, and then we can, I'm sure the council will have some comments. Talk to us about your experience. What?
Okay, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My experience in this program has been great. I started my junior year officially, and I've learned a lot. And I feel like this is going to help me a lot in my life. And one more thing, we are currently selling raffle tickets, so would any of you guys like to purchase one? That's it. Thank you.
So what has been, any of you guys, what has been the most rewarding aspect of this program and the most challenging aspect of this program?
The most rewarding thing of this program was the bonding, just getting to know other people that I didn't even know existed before. And it's a great team. We do a lot of physical stuff, so I guess that's the challenging part, but it's worth it at the end of the day.
Awesome. And any of you guys here, I'm gonna look at all of you guys, are contemplating pursuing a career in law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
So we have one Class 1 Explorer now. She's scheduled to go off to the Army Reserves March 16th. She's going to do her 4-month basic. Hopefully come back. She's already applied for a CSO position. So if the timing's right and she does well on the testing, we're trying to get her hired as a CSO. And there's other individuals that have expressed wanting to come back to El Centro to work in law enforcement. And if I could say one more thing, Giselle is a perfect example of what's gone on with our program. She talks about the physical aspect and some of the things that she thinks is rewarding. For me, when I first met her, I don't think, and I'm not trying to embarrass you, she wouldn't have been able to get up here and speak publicly. And I've really seen a lot of growth in her and a lot of the other members of our Explorer program. And that's the most rewarding part for me, because I know that we're building a strong foundation for the things they need later on in life. So they're doing really well.
So I think that on behalf of the council, we want to tell all of you guys that we're very, very proud of you and the work that you are doing, continue to do. Thank you to our staff and Sergeant Thompson and the chief and everyone involved from the El Centro PD in growing our young people to become fine citizens of our community. To your families, I'm sure that also they sacrifice a lot to support you. Anybody has family members here today?
Yes.
That you do? Where's your family?
There you go.
So, sir, congratulations. Anybody else has family here? No. So, where are your parents? Okay, all right. So, again, we're very, very proud of you and your accomplishments. And let me bring you back to council before we take our picture. Mr. Garcia?
It's a great program. You know, we have passionate officers that are assisting with it, and definitely looks like you guys are squared away, and we'll see what happens in Marietta.
Yeah, you know, this is a great program, and Class 1 was incredible. I mean, they represent our city and our department very well, and there's no doubt that Class 2 will do the same. Is there some of these that are Class 1, or this is all Class 2?
No, there's some, this is all class 2, and then we have the 2, and this is the third one from class 1.
Okay.
And the other members had obligations, school, work. We support them.
Absolutely.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes, I just want to say congratulations on what you have accomplished so far. I'm pretty sure that through this academy, through this program, you have pushed that boundary of what you thought you could or could not do. And I would just say continue to do that. Continue to do more and test yourself, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So would this picture work, or do you want us down on the?
No, that would be fine, right there. Just if you get this.
We'll get you in the picture too. You want them to get,
Yeah, on this side.
here, you guys,
Some guys on this side.
scoot down a little bit.
You look sharp.
They do look sharp.
Yeah.
I need to go back more.
Congratulations, guys. Chief, we're going to continue with the good news, I suppose?
We are, and I promise I am going to keep my comments very short. The next individual truly doesn't need an introduction, but I'm so honored and proud to have Chief Sawyer back with the El Centro Police family and our city family. And so without further ado, I'd love to have Robert a chance to say a few words.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, welcome.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, first and foremost, thank you for allowing me to come back. My time here at the police department has been the majority of my adult life. So the time when I left, it was kind of bittersweet. But coming back makes it feel like it's a homecoming. And it's truly a great honor for me to be standing here before you today and to be able to work alongside Chief Johnson and the young men and women in the police department and department heads in the city of El Centro. You've said it all along, and I couldn't agree more. El Centro is a great city to work for. It's a great city to live in, and it's a great city to work at. So I really want to thank you for the opportunity to come back. I will say that this is a very tough act to follow. So just prior to departing, I had the opportunity to meet Class 1, not work with them, but meet them. So to see the program continue to grow and prosper under the tutelage of the officers at the police department and the men and women that are working with the program is just great news. And it's just a testament to the hard work of our employees and the support that the city has given all the programs. So thank you very much for everything you've done for the city and you continue to do. I appreciate it.
Chief, I'd like to say again, we're so happy to have you back, and I know I agree with El Centro being the finest city, and your presence here and your work with us is going to make our city even better. So I'm thankful and appreciate you being back with us again
Thank you, sir.
very much. But I'm going to have council make any comments. Mr. Garcia,
Welcome home, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson.
You know, we know each other a long time. I'm glad you're back home. We'll send the bill to Brawley for letting you go over there and loan you over there to Brawley. But I look forward to you being back, and look forward to you helping lead this department.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Oliva.
Very, very short. Welcome back. I know we met when you were at the department, but this is the first time I'll get to work with you once I'm up here, so welcome back.
Thank
Look
you very
forward to
much.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have a good
Chief.
night.
Next item on the scheduled public comments, we have the introduction of Kirk Mann, our new Executive Director of the Imperial Valley Housing Authority. Who's making the presentation?
Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Kirk Mann. I've been at the Imperial Valley Housing Authority almost 2 months, started back at the beginning of January. Andrea Rourke was the ED Executive Director for about 20 years, but she had worked there for almost 40 years. So she retired at the end of December, and the board had selected me to be the new executive director. So I'm enthused about being here in the Imperial Valley. Wanted to share a little bit of my experience. Prior to coming to the Imperial Valley, I was with the Housing Authority of the County of Monterey for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. And prior to that, I was with the DC Housing Authority for about 2.5 years. And I've been in affordable housing for about 25 years. So I've had the private sector and the public sector. So getting anxious to get familiar with all the programs. Just wanted to share with the council here that the Housing Authority here in the city of El Centro, we have 920 households that are on the voucher program. And on public housing units, we have 226 households living in subsidized units. And on farm worker housing units, we have 76 families specifically for the farm worker families. Senior disabled housing, we have 59 seniors living in El Centro subsidized housing. And that makes a total of 1,281 households that are getting assistance through the Housing Authority. So again, I just wanted to share that, and I'm glad to be here. And I hear you guys might have summers here. Up in Monterey,
yeah.
it was like 60 in the summertime, so
Yeah.
I'll
High
hope to
80s.
enjoy some of
high
the.
80s.
It's a little warmer here,
Okay.
just a little bit.
All right.
No, but please stay for a minute.
Okay.
So welcome to
Okay,
Imperial Valley.
thank you.
I think we all knew Andrea Rourke because she was part of our community for so many years, and she was really an institution and continues to be an institution for Imperial Valley. So it's tough shoes to follow.
Yes.
But I appreciate you taking the time and, given the numbers that you just shared with us. This is an incredibly important position for all of us in our community. So I very, very much appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and count on the council to support any endeavors that you have that would ultimately help our citizens.
Okay, great.
So I don't know if any council member has any comments.
Just welcome. We look forward to some promising work. It is very important to the residents of this community because of the issues that we do have with housing here. So it's great to hear those numbers, and great to see that we have somebody at the wheel that has a passion for it and the experience to carry out the mission.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to El Centro, welcome to Imperial Valley. Obviously, affordable housing is an issue for all cities throughout the country, and of course, Imperial County is certainly not immune to that. So welcome, you have a lot of work to do, I'm sure you know that, and look forward to hopefully having you come visit us and give us reports from time to time. I think we'd really enjoy that.
Good idea.
Great.
Joe Oliva?
Very brief, Mr. Mann. Thank you for introducing yourself here today, and I'm sure that on both my capacity here and my day job, our paths will cross in the future. So I look forward to working with you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks.
sir. I skipped item 3, so let me go back to item 3. Introduction of new community services department staff.
Yes, our item is to introduce new staff, but I also wanted to thank the explorers who've left, but they've assisted us in most of our special
Yeah.
events. All our movie nights, most recently, they're going to help us with Mardi Gras, and then they even assisted at Comic-Con. So we're super, super supportive. They've helped us tremendously. With that said, I'm here to introduce new staff that we have. We've had some vacancies for a while, and thanks to Terry, who's not here today, we've been able to fill them. So we're super grateful for that. The employees that we have here tonight are Clara Obeso, and she is working on Liz Ceseña's old position. And then Susanna couldn't make it today, Susanna Gonzalez. She has been with the city for 30 years, and she's currently furthering her education, so she couldn't make it tonight. But Clara, if you could come up. Claire has been with us.
But she's not a new face to El Centro.
So looking back, Claire has been with us since 2005. So she has advanced tremendously through the years. She's left us, and we've got her back. And so we're super, super happy to have her. She brings a tremendous skill set. The same thing with Susanna. Susanna was at PD, then she was at Parks, and now she's at Economic Development. So both of these ladies are a huge asset to our city, and so we're glad to promote them. Anyone say 3 words? Just a couple. Come on, come on.
It's just that I am excited to be part of the economic development team, and I want to thank City Manager's Office and City Attorney for taking me back in 2015, and I am so happy and grateful, honestly, that they took me back. And between the time I came back and now, I was able to get my bachelor's degree in paralegal studies. So I am bringing that also, some of the experience and knowledge, to economic development. And I thank Adriana and Stacy for giving me the opportunity to be part of their team. Thank you.
Clara, for both Clara and for you and Clara and Susana, we could not be any happier to see you grow within the city, and we've known each other for a long time, and I know your capabilities and the professionalism that you bring to our city, and this is just being transferred over to another department, but you continue to be an elite employee for El Centro, and I very much appreciate your work and your continued work with us. And I know that we're going to miss you in the city manager's office there visiting you and ringing the bell when I need to see somebody, but but I'm very, very happy. Please extend the same sentiments to Susana. And, I'm so happy really to see the city grow and bring your own employees and promote them to positions of higher authority and the responsibilities. That is really gratifying for me. So thank you. Unless any members from the council that wish?
Yes, just briefly, I look forward to seeing your continued success and utmost professionalism in your new endeavor. And it's great that we get to keep people in the city that do great work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I miss you at the city manager's office. I'll just come visit you over at economic development. But I'm glad you stuck with the city. I'm glad you're still here, and congratulations on the new position.
Yes, I will miss you as well in the city manager's office, but congratulations on your professional development.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is it getting warm in here, or I'm just a temperature? Is this getting warm in here?
I'll take care of it.
Item number 5, Inland Fair Housing and Mediation Board update presentation. Who's presenting this to us? You can check it out.
Yeah, I'm the one always trades.
Hi.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, council members, community members. My name is Cassandra Franco. I'm from Inland Fair Housing and Mediation Board. I am the Fair Housing Specialist for our Centro office. Inland Fair Housing and Mediation Board is a nonprofit public benefit corporation that has served San Bernardino County and parts of Riverside, Imperial County in Southern California since 1980. Funded by numerous grants and awards, IFHMB serves to assist individuals in resolving issues relating to housing discrimination, home ownership sustainability, rental complaints, and disputes in court through the provision of resource recommendations, education, and mediation. Located in the city of Ontario with satellite offices in San Bernardino, Victorville, Indio, and El Centro, California, IFHMB assists thousands of individuals each year through its programs. IFHMB is dedicated to providing information, investigation, education, conciliation, and/or referrals for housing discrimination complaints free of charge to individuals and entities in our service area. IFHMB provides clients with their options to seek legal advice, filing a housing discrimination complaint with HUD, DFEH, or DOJ, attempt to conciliate. IFHMB also provides local referrals for clients to receive legal advice through California Rural Legal Assistance. We also, in our Fair Housing Department, we offer workshops. We offered 2 in El Centro recently, both in English and Spanish. The workshops are marketed to tenants, housing providers, realtors, banks, community residents, and the workshop was held in Catholic Charities. IFH&B is also part of the Imperial Valley Continuum of Care Council, which meets every month. IFH&B's mediation department provides information to landlords, tenants, mobile home park owners, and mobile home residents regarding their rights and responsibilities. Under the California landlord-tenant laws and facilitates negotiations between parties and housing-related disputes. For reporting purposes, IFH&B collects data by using an intake software, and all reporting is conducted by the agency's grants analyst using SQL Server to run series of inquiries. IFH&B provides monthly data and accomplishment reports to the city of El Centro.
Thank you so much for the information. It's always, I think, good to be reminded of the scope of services that you provide. How many El Centro benefits specifically are provided assistance through your organization? Do you have the number?
No, I do not. I can get the information if you would like.
Yeah.
And try to relay it to you or somebody else if possible.
So personally, I'd like to know out of all the menu of services that you provide, how many El Centro residents were assisted through each of those individual services. I think that'll be helpful for us.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you. And let me see if there's any comments from the council.
If I could just ask what the statistics that you just read and the overview, is there any way that you could share that with us?
You mean like personally, like through an email? Or
Sure.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or if you could send to our city clerk,
Yeah,
then
city
she could
clerk.
disseminate it to us.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Consent agenda is items 6 through 10. Any member of the council wish to pull any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve items 6 through 10, and I have a motion by Garcia, second by Jackson. And do we need to? Oh, no, okay.
I think she's got shut off.
No, it's off, yeah. Okay, matter passes. Agenda gets approved, consent agenda gets approved 4-0. Let's go on to item number 11. Use of city insignia and our logo, and who's presenting this? This is.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So tonight I bring before you a request that came about maybe a month ago, where we came across that we really didn't have a process for, well, we do have a process for approving city logos. And so we wanted to simplify it because in our ordinance, it states that council has to approve any use of the city logo for advertisement purposes and such. And so we wanted to simplify the process and have the city manager's office be responsible for authorizing it. So city attorney's office went ahead and created a resolution which designates, just using the city logo or getting any kind of approval in regards to a city logo, whether it's Public Works, Community Development, Community Services, or just the city logo itself, and have it come through the city manager's office for approval without having to take it to council for action. And so tonight, I just bring before you the resolution requesting approval.
Thank you, Liz, for that. I don't have any questions or comments as the council.
I do.
Mr. Jackson?
No, fine.
No, I do have a
Oh,
question. sir.
do you have questions? Oh, no, okay. Mr. Oliva?
Just to clarify, Liz, I like centralizing, right, the permission, but for example, I'll admit, right, because I'm new here, a couple months ago, I went to a stitching shop and asked them to embroider a windbreaker jacket for me with my name on it and using the city logo. So after this, I'll have to go to city manager's office and request permission to do that, correct?
Technically, it depends on which agency or which business you're using. They already have our logo, so
Right.
you wouldn't have to get permission for that. It's more for marketing purposes. Let's say, for example, Honda or any other business would like to use our logo. Wendy's, I think, recently requested it. So it's more on their end where they want to use it to market the city's logo.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So you're okay with embroidering and all that?
Don't need to return my pajamas, socks, slippers.
You can embroider them if
Your
you'd like.
boxers with our
yes.
logo on it.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? If not, I am looking for a motion to approve.
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution?
Yes, there's a resolution.
What number is that?
It's 09,
Okay.
2009.
2009. Approving the resolution regarding the use of the city logo and insignia, and that matter is approved 4-0. Thank you so much, Liz. Let's go on to item number 12, discussion and necessary action regarding the award of contract for needs assessment and feasibility study for the Monte Vista Sports and Wellness Complex. And Stacey, you presenting?
Yes, I am. And if we could, Susanna just came in and we've offered her the opportunity to speak before
Yeah,
you. but-
Susanna, thank you.
Come on, Susanna. Susanna, you're gonna.
What's that?
No.
Hi.
So first of all, we wanted to say that we're very, very happy for you. We value you as an employee and the promotion that you received and what you bring to our city. And so I think the comments that were echoed by all of my colleagues here in the council is that we are incredibly happy for you and very happy to see you continue working with us.
Great. Thank you. I'm happy to get to work.
Awesome. Thank you, Susanna.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The next item you have before you is the Monte Vista Sports Complex Need Assessment and Feasibility Study. The council approved funding to have a feasibility study completed for the proposed project as part of the Measure P. I just wanted to provide a brief overview. Attached is a conceptual plan that was prepared through the Imperial County Office of Education and presented to the City Council. It'll be housed just directly west of the current Imperial County Office of Education site at off of Sperber and McCabe. Measure P funding in the amount of $70,000 was approved by council back in 2018. And as part of that, the Imperial County Office of Education offered to, at a later time, contribute 10% of the cost of the feasibility study, and that has been approved by their board. It was approved back in last month. The city council, or the city staff, put out a request for proposals or request for qualifications for the preparation of the needs assessment study. We did receive numerous responses. It was the proposals were scored and it was narrowed down, and we did some subsequent interviews. And what you see here is the 4 candidates that received interviews on the project. We had 2 that were very high ranking, and the #1 candidate, Victus Advisors, was very high ranking and very well, they received a lot of good feedback from their previous clientele. The scope of work that's being provided by them is listed: community engagement, market analysis, and they're going to be coming in and meeting with staff and doing some public outreach. And these are this is the scope of work that they're going to be doing for us. The tentative study timeline, if awarded tonight, we anticipate after review of their documentation that they should receive a notice to proceed in March. They will be here within 2 to 3 weeks for a kickoff meeting, and it's a 12-week period for the study completion, and after which they'll be, present some preliminary findings. We'll do some clarifications and so forth, and they anticipate delivering a final study results in July of 2020. So with that, the staff is requesting that council approve the agreement with Victus Advisors to complete the needs assessment and feasibility study for the amount of $59,800, of which $5,980 will be reimbursed by Imperial County Office of Education. And I do have Dr. Fennell here tonight, if you have any questions from Dr. Fennell. I know there were some questions that the council had last week.
Right.
So.
Thank you, Stacy, for your report. Yeah, this is something that I spoke to Dr. Fennell, I think somewhere, at the State of the County address. And I mentioned that one of the comments that was shared here within the council was the the viability of continuing with the report in light of, or the prospect of future funding opportunities that will bring this project to completion and fruition in the years to come. And then Dr. Fennell indicated very confidently that this is just the beginning. It's taken us a while to be here, but having the feasibility study completed will open up funding opportunities and doors in the future through other funding mechanisms to hopefully, I think for the benefit of all of our citizens, see this project come through for the benefit of our children in El Centro. So I'm supporting continuation of this, supporting funding of this feasibility study for the Monte Vista project. And before I ask Dr. Fennell if he has any more additional comments, any comments, questions from the council for Stacy?
No, I'm excited about the project. I want to see this study done as quickly so we can streamline the process and start getting something done on it. I think everybody's been excited about this for some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only, I am interested in hearing from Mr. Fennell or Dr. Fennell about potential funding sources that you are currently going after. I know there's some state monies that I think you've probably applied for, as well as we have too, but if you have anything else that you guys are actively going after right now?
Sure. So appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I really appreciate the partnership with the City of El Centro, so thank you. And one correction, it's not the County Office of Education that is funding the 10%, it's the Foundation for Education, which is a subsidiary of the County Office of Education. And so really every transformative project starts with a vision, right? And so we have the vision for the project, we have the land, we have a lot of interest, so we have leads in terms of philanthropic organizations. One challenge we came up against when we started seeking grants, especially state-funded grants or federal-funded grants, was the need for this type of assessment and feasibility so that we could speak to a lot of the issues. Intuitively, we know. We've done our own work, and I think the City Council knows that for our community, we desperately need a regional complex like this for our youth. Field space, we're deficient throughout the county. But without a formal analysis and an assessment of what exactly is needed, how best to proceed with it, and then how will it best be supported and maintained, it's difficult to go out and raise the kind of capital that we're talking about. So this would be the initial investment to really seek the significant capital that would be needed.
Thank you, Dr. Fennell. Any additional questions, comments? See none, I'm looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2010, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro approving an agreement with Victus Advisors to provide a needs assessment and feasibility study for the Monte Vista Sports and Wellness Complex for the City of El Centro. And I have a motion by Garcia and second by Oliva. And the matter passes 4-0. Thank you. Let's move on to item number 13, discussion and necessary action related to the proposals received by Community Development Block Grant Program for 2021. Presentation by our Economic Development Manager, Stacy Mendoza.
Thank you, Mayor Silva. We're beginning our next funding cycle for the CDBG program for the 2021 funding cycle. As you know, we always come before council after you guys have already established your priorities. We've issued our request for proposals. We received 13, and I'm here tonight to present the information that was given to us, or the information that was submitted, so that council can give us directions on which projects you would like to fund for the 2021 funding cycle. So we have a summary of the proposals received. This first list is our public services. As you know, this is the one that council tends to struggle with. This year we did receive the funding requests in the amount of $126,930. We had a total of 5 different public services plus our fair housing services, which, as you know, is a mandatory requirement. We also had a request for code enforcement from the code enforcement program, and we've submitted requests for the housing activities in the amount of $165,000. And we received 2 requests for public improvements projects. One for the improvement at Swarthout Park Ramada improvements, and the other for the CDBG off-site improvement project. And then we also are requesting the funding for the program administration. As an overview of the funding, we have funding available from entitlement funds. As you know, we perform the allocations based on the estimate of let me rephrase this. HUD requires that we use our current year's funding as an estimate for preparing our next year's funding. This year's funding, we had $532,718. It breaks down with 20% program admin, 15% public services, and then you can see the amount available for other eligible activities. We also have program income based on a $30,000 estimate. There's program admin in the amount of 20%, and we've excluded $4,500 from that amount because that will be the estimate for next year's public services. And we have the public services is based 15% off of the previous year's funding. So whenever we're working on the 2021 year, we have to look at the funding from the 1920 year. Based on the amount that we currently have already received in program income, 15% of it is $8,559. So you have a total amount of total available $566,777 for the funding year. We don't have any funding to reallocate because all the available funding for reallocation was placed on the Carlos Aguilar project. So that amount was not added into this. As far as suggested activities for the year, as you know, required activity for fair housing in the amount of $47,250, and we are requesting the 20% amount for the program administration. And public services funding from the 2021 allocation, expected allocation in the program income, you have a total of $88,466 available for public services. Of that, you have to subtract the fair housing requirement, and so you have a total of $41,216 available for allocation to the other public services.
Stacy,
Yes.
go back. I think either your number or our number is off. We have a maximum funding availability of $84,407.70
On which?
in our staff report. Yeah, 84,407.70.
Okay, that was based on, before we recalculated, we received the updated program income numbers.
Okay.
It was based off of the estimate, and I went in and pulled a final report for the program income that we've received so far this year, and it was more than anticipated.
So we have, after we carve out the fair housing requirement, we have $41,000.
Correct.
That
That can be allocated.
all of the other programs, we don't need to really discuss them, right? The only discretionary actions that we take as far as what gets funding is this one here, correct?
The public services and all other eligible activities, you'll see because we do have the code enforcement, the housing activities, and the off-site improvement, and the Swarth out, and then it's up to council to determine which projects you'd like to fund for the year.
Okay. Thank you.
As for the other eligible activities, you have a total of $365,768 available for allocation. As far as recommended funding, we do recommend funding the housing activities and the code enforcement. If council chooses to go that way, it would leave a balance available of $488. So at this time, we do need direction from council, but before we proceed with that, I believe there may be some people, some representatives in the audience that would like to come to council first.
Can you go back one slide, please?
Certainly.
Stacey? So out of the 122,000 that are discretionary, that we have to make a decision over what to allocate, can you tell me again which projects are in essence competing for this money?
What happened to the other slide? It was here whenever I came in here. Let me back up on here because it was here whenever we started this. There it is. Somehow or other, I managed to delete that. The other activities that were submitted, we received requests from Swarthout Park. What? It's gone again. just go off of here, because some reason whenever I click on it, it seems to disappear from me. We had a request for Swarthout Park, the Ramada improvements. We had them, Javier, to break this down into 2 tiers because the funding is so limited. If council chooses to award the whole project, the Tier 1 improvements includes some safety and ADA improvements, some flat work, benches, security lighting for $122,500. And he would added a second tier if you choose to allocate for improvements in the basketball court renovation, including concrete and changing the lighting heads. That does not include the poles. He would have to use existing poles. And the change of the basketball court into a multi-sport court.
I'm sorry, Stacy, can you remind me, you can just tell me, you don't need to put the slide. How much is available at discretion?
122,000, I believe.
22, okay.
And then the Public Works Department asked for funding for their off-site improvement program for bringing sidewalks, curb and gutter up to ADA standards where none exist.
Okay,
I'm not quite sure why that keeps disappearing on me.
thank you.
So at this time, if there's any, we'll leave it to council. I believe we're going to have some comments from the public.
Yes. Thank you, Stacy. Before I bring it back to council, I do have two speakers slipped. There are people that want to address the council. Let me first call Lupe Rodriguez. Hi, Lupe.
Good evening, Mayor and the City Council.
Hi, Lupe.
My name is Lupe Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Outreach for Catholic Charities. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight on our homeless program. I'm going to be brief, but tell you that House of Hope is a homeless shelter for women and children and single and attached women. We have been in existence since 1984, and we continue to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with a full-time staff. We are an emergency shelter, a 24-bed facility that offers 3 meals and snacks throughout the day, clothing, showers, laundry facilities, and case management to all residents. A typical family stay is approximately 3 months, but if they need to stay longer, they can stay until we find suitable housing for them. Our priority is to find housing for our residents, but also important for them is securing employment, childcare, education, behavioral health services. We assist them with these and many other barriers they might have, such as obtaining a driver's license, birth certificates, social service benefits, and medical services. To enter a shelter, you just have to be homeless. And most of our residents are homeless due to loss of job, eviction, divorce, or domestic violence. Last year, 77 persons were sheltered at House of Hope, 40 adults and 37 children. We found housing for 65% of them, and all others were reunited with family members. Our shelter is very much a home. Families eat at the same time. Mothers help with homework, and children are in bed by 8 p.m. There is a curfew. Our curfew is at 7:30 unless a parent is working a late shift. We, as a home, we celebrate birthdays, graduations, or any milestones for the children. We strive to keep our shelter very much a home. Additionally, we have the foster grandparent program through Catholic Charities. Our volunteer grandparents come during the holidays to tutor and spend time with all residents. All of our residents at House of Hope range from infants to senior citizens. We find housing for them or reunite them with families that have maybe been lost. In closing, I want to thank you for considering us and your continued support for our women's shelter and extend my invitation for you to visit our facility at any time.
Thank you. Thank you, Lupita. Next speaker is Ambrose Ramirez.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. My name is Ambrose Ramirez of the Ivy LGBT Resource Center. I'm here to talk a little bit about the Youth Mentorship Program and our proposal. As you well know, that through research, we don't have a youth mentorship program here in El Centro to assist our youth to better themselves through outside agencies' help and to lead themselves in to be better, successful city members. We have already proven that our success programs through the Youth Cadet Academy. We'll be starting our 3rd Youth Cadet Academy this summer, but with the Youth Mentorship Program, we want to make this a 12-month program to assist the youth of El Centro We've already got help with mentorship.org, giving mentorship training to some of our volunteers, some of our board members to assist us to make this a successful program. We also are in works with some outside agencies to help us with the giving classes to the mentees and to our mentors to make this a successful program. I don't want to take up all 3 minutes, but I did bring Amy Corrales, who helped Rosa Diaz write this grant and share her passion why.
Of course.
Good evening. Thank you, Ambrose, and good evening, Mayor and City Councils. Wow, it really takes courage to come up here and talk to all of you and the audience. So thank you for having me today, but I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience at the LGBT Center, and the experience has been great, actually eye-opening, and I've spent about 90 hours at the LGBT Center through University of Phoenix program. So I'm trying to complete my bachelor's degree in nursing. And when I joined the program, the team was working on this grant and they asked for my assistance. Of course, I jumped into it, willing to help in any way. And in the brief time, and I call it brief time because I will continue to volunteer at the center. I'm really passionate about this LGBT community, and that I didn't have any experience before I joined the team, and now it's actually a calling, and I want to make sure that I help in any way so that we can bring the resources needed. With that being said, I really ask you to consider this program and the funding that we are requesting so that we can help the youth here in El Centro. I'm a former student of the ROP, and I know that that program in particular back in 2000 or 1999, I should say, was really helpful in helping me gain confidence and trying to choose a career. And I went into nursing. But this one's really different, right? So we're trying to target LGBT community youth, which we do not have here in Imperial County. So I really support this, and I hope that you do too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other member of the public wish to address the council regarding this matter? Seeing none, let me bring it back to council. Let me suggest that we address. So there's two discretionary items that we have to address. Let's deal with.
Here we go.
Not public services. The other category, Stacy, the facilities, I guess it's called. So out of the $122,000 that's discretionary, we are to select between the Swarthout improvement, park improvements, and the off-site improvements, correct? Everything else
If you
above that
choose-
is funded?
Yes, if you choose to fund the code enforcement and the housing activities, then you have that balance, yes.
Okay.
So if you fund,
Do we have discretion over the amount of funding that gets allocated over each of those?
yes, you do. The code enforcement, all of those activities are up to council's discretion.
Okay.
Can I ask questions?
Yeah.
Stacy.
And naturally, my.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes, quick question. If I can ask Adriana, Ms. Nava, the Swarthout Park improvement and I don't know about the CDBG, but the Swarthout Park, is that eligible for Prop 64, Prop 68 dollars?
We did apply for Swarthout. In the ranking, it's the one that scores the least amount out of all the projects we selected.
Oh.
And we started doing playground inspections, and Swarthout was the one that has the most deficiencies in terms of playground safety. And so for us, going about it was a way to correct the deficiencies that we have in that playground. So we wanted to list different projects before you. This is one of them. In terms of, did we submit an application for Swarthout? Yes.
Okay.
We did.
Right, thank you.
I thought I was being clever where we could have a calculation as we're going instead of struggling with this, but the keyboard appears to not want to work for us.
So I think code enforcement is so important for us. I think that we just have to continue funding that.
I agree.
And we cannot go over above what was requested, correct?
No.
Okay.
We have, what was the total number? 120?
122, well, I was a little confused because when you said the 122, I thought we were only.
That was if you choose to, that these, based on the programs, we're recommending that you fund the code enforcement and housing. If you choose to fund those, then you have the 122,000 left to.
Mayor, if I may suggest, Ms. Mendoza, if you can go back to the PowerPoint slide where you have the amount of 122 and then, okay, so this is the, now, keep in mind, if you're going to be allocating the 165,000 for housing activities, if that's what the recommendation is, then we can start adding up the 122 amount, 48, and just subtract it from the 365. That way it's easier, because probably the spreadsheet may not work.
Yeah.
So maybe if I may suggest, if you're okay with this, then maybe we can take that approach.
Yeah, I'm in support of funding the housing activities and the code enforcement as is being recommended by staff. I don't know if there's any concerns over that.
No.
So that's going to stay. So really, the only discussion for the council is the allocation of the $122,000, and we have the sworth out proposal, which is in two phases. One phase is 122,000 and almost the exact amount. Can you put that slide back again?
Yeah, that's the one that appears to keep disappearing on me. How funny that the escape works.
Yeah.
Okay, right here. So it's tier 1 is
122.5.
safety ADA, flat work, benches, security lighting for 122.5. There it is. Here you go.
Right. And Adriana, you said that we did apply for hard
Yes, we
funds
did.
for. So what was to happen in the event that this gets funded?
This is a tiny portion of the grant that we submitted. The grant we submitted, I believe, was $6 million. It's a multi-million-dollar project. This is just correcting the deficiencies in the playground. And once you fix one thing in the playground, then the rest of the stuff starts looking really, really dated. So when Javier, who goes out there and looks at what our needs are, he did some improvements. That would be our tier 1, our priority 1. And then tier 2, if we have a little bit of money, maybe we could, touch up the basketball court, et cetera. So these are immediate needs for us.
Mr. Mayor.
Abraham, in terms of sidewalk improvements, what areas of the city are we looking at?
Good evening. It's just in general in the CDBG area, there's areas that on the east side of town or northeast that we have curb ramps or curb returns at corners that don't have any ADA. Some of the west area of town, we have ramps that are non-ADA compliant to current standard, but they were at the time they were built, so there is some type of improvement. We're looking at areas that don't have an ADA ramp at all or sidewalks. We have other funding sources. If there's an opportunity to get funding from this source, that'd be great. We're always looking for additional funding for sidewalks and whatnot, but we're looking at sidewalks and ramps basically east.
Right. Thank you. I don't know how the council feels. To me, this feels like this is a project that we have to fund one or the other because we can't split it.
Yeah.
Splitting it won't work for neither the Swarthout Park or the sidewalk improvements.
I think the last several years, we've always set aside money for the sidewalk, curb gutter, ADA improvements. We've been doing that for the last 5-6 years, haven't we?
Just to clarify, this
No?
is a different project. The ones that you have funded for the last few years is in conjunction with the housing activities
Oh,
because our housing rehab guidelines didn't allow us to do off-site improvements or the funding. And so we came to council and asked for funding for the housing portion of it.
I see. Okay.
This is actual just public improvements.
My preference, I think we've come a long way on sidewalks. The Swarthout needs some renovations. We've been spending a lot of time. I think this council has been very committed to our parks and recreational opportunities for our youth. And in anticipation and hope that we do land the grants or some of the grants that we've applied for that rework of Swarthout, I think the 122.5 would be well spent on Tier 1 for Swarthout.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any other comments from council? Mr. Oliva?
But if we were to decide to fund the CDBG offsite projects, it would just be a portion of that, right? Just half of it?
Right, so they
all
need
that we-
200.
Can you please put up the Excel spreadsheet so I could see it all?
I can
Please.
put it up. It's not letting me work on it, though.
There we go. So you guys are hoping for Swarthout, right?
So the recommendation from Mr. Jackson is that we use the discretionary funds and use that to fund Tier 1 of the Swarthout improvements and not fund any money for the sidewalk improvements. That's the recommendation, right?
So the grand total, if I can clarify, Mr. Jackson, it's the code enforcement, the housing,
Right.
and then the Tier 1 or Phase 1 of Swarthout, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be able to fund Phase 2, obviously, and then we wouldn't fund any of the offsite improvements. But I believe that there's other funds or other monies that we will be actively going after for sidewalk and offsite improvements. And I think we're all hoping that I think we stand a decent or better than decent chance of maybe getting some of the grant money that we've applied for with the state for the parks. And one of those, if you guys recall, is the rework of Swarthout, where we changed the entire layout of Swarthout Park and fields. So I think this would be a good precursor to that happening.
I think I like that recommendation. I agree with that. Mr. Garcia?
I would agree.
Okay. So pencil in the 122.5. So we're short $12.
There's four of us. We all
yeah,
throw in $3.
We can all
We're
pitch
good.
in $3 a piece and we'll then.
Or actually, I think we're over $12.
Oh, over two, okay. So
Oh, well, then we
money
all
back.
get $3.
All right. Okay, so that's taken care of. Let's go back now to the more difficult discussion, as that's on the
Here we go.
public services allocation. So, Stacy, once we carve out the 47,250 for fair housing, that leaves us,
Yeah, 41,216.
and we have 12,500 from House of Hope, 12,000 from senior nutrition, 8180 from, that's how much they apply for, emergency Women Haven?
Yes.
30,000 for youth mentorship program, and $17,000 for PAL. That adds up to more than 41. So obviously not everyone can get what they requested. Let me bring it back to council. The recommendations.
Yeah, so I think, speaking for me, and I think over the years, speaking for this council, we've used these funds traditionally to support the most needing group within our community, which for me, first and foremost, has always been the senior nutrition program. Historically, federal and state have continued to cut funds for that program. And I think the city of El Centro has probably been the one agency that's continued to fund you guys at a high level and keep that program going. I know from programs, some of my service clubs where we've had members from that program speak, it's a program that's never funded enough. There's a lot of people on waiting lists. That is a population of our community that sometimes the only person that they see is that person that takes them that meal. So I would suggest, or I would make a request to fully fund the senior nutrition program to the total of $12,000. The House of Hope is also another program that we've traditionally tried to fund as much as possible. I think it's obviously a population of our community that we wish wasn't in existence, but it is. And House of Hope does a tremendous job in taking care of those people and giving them the services that they need. So I would recommend fully funding of the 12.5. When it comes to Woman Haven, they do great work. We have funded them traditionally a lot, but they have such a great infrastructure that they have been able to gain resources from other areas, state and federal, as some of these other groups have not had that ability. So I would not recommend that we fund Woman Haven. And then the last two we have is the LGBT mentor program and the PAL, both very good programs, both programs that have certainly produced over the years. Obviously, the LGBT program is a newer program, but I believe we did fund them to a certain extent last year. The work that the El Centro PAL does is incredible. I've seen it. I think a lot of us have seen that. The mayor and I actually just went to congratulate their boxing program, and we were there to share in their joy that they actually got some new equipment that we funded for them. And that program is just totally impacted. I mean, there's so many kids that want to be in that program. The soccer program is an incredible program that you guys have hundreds of kids out there. And for me, I just see that program as something that helps keep those kids off the streets, helps keep them out of the gangs and all the negative things that could happen in the community. So my recommendation would be to fully fund or to fund the balance, which in my calculation would be $16,716 to the youth recreational activities at the PAL, not leaving anything for the LGBT program, but I think we've shown as a council and a city, we have continued to support that organization through some of the other funding sources we've had. We've been a sponsor of their events the last few years, and we've also assisted them with some discretionary funds from requests that they've had. So I think there'll be some opportunities to help them in the future upcoming year.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. So, Stacy, can you put the 12.5 for House of Hope? And then the balance of 16,716 that will be for PAL. That's a recommendation from Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Oliva.
Okay, so first, let me just say that this is the first time that I see these numbers and who applied, because none of this was in our agenda packet. Not the one that I got, right?
It was, yeah.
No?
Not in this format, but in a
Not-
different format.
Not in this, so, no, I'm just being upfront, right? I didn't see it in any of the things. So
I just created this because we struggle with doing
this
math
is
every
nice, I
year.
like this. So first, I just want to say that if the council could entertain, if there's anything in regards to the Women Haven, if we can take that as a separate item, only because I still serve on that board, and so if we could have that as a different action where I can step out. Lastly, did Catholic Charities, if I may ask a question to Catholic Charities, did Catholic Charities receive any of the HEAP monies or any of the cash dollars from the county?
I'm going to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
So every dollar.
Right.
And I know last year we were funded for 8,500, and their nutrition was 12,000. That went towards food. There's a waiting list for seniors to get food. We're still trying to find other funding. I'm new to Catholic Charities. Sorry, my name is Danny. I'm the director of.
Can you come to the podium, please, if you don't mind?
Sorry, good evening, everyone. My name is Danny Willenberg, and I'm the new Director of Philanthropy at Catholic Charities. I've been there for 6 months. So my job will be raising as much money as possible to help offset the deficit of the shelters that we run in Imperial Valley and in San Diego.
So yes, we did get some cash money that again will be split between House of Hope and OLG, which is Our Lady of Guadalupe, the men's shelter.
Thank you.
Got it. Oh, yes, that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And if- still on my time, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I understand Mayor Pro Tem's prerogative in fully funding Catholic charities in both requests and the EC PAL. However, I think that many of these organizations are able to apply for other funding that is available, for example, House of Hope, and not to take away from what was just said, but she just said that she got county dollars. And so other of these programs are not eligible for that. And so I think to just not fund, for example, the IV LGBT Center at all with nothing is incomprehensible.
Well, let me ask Mr. Preciado, Mr. Preciado, can you, the $17,000 that you requested are intended for wages? I have a general description, what, are we looking at equipment? What are we looking at?
Edward Preciado, for Executive Director of Centro PAL. None of this is for wages at all. It's all for equipment or program upkeep is basically all it's for. I know that we do have some upkeep as far as the building goes, which that goes a little bit toward electricity, which for summer use, for our facility, that includes the boxing program and the karate program, which is there. The boxing program's there 4 days a week, and the karate program's there 2 days a week. And with the older air conditioners that we do have, the price of the electricity does go up, and that's some of the assistance there, but none of it goes toward salaries.
So, so this is always a very difficult discussion for all of us on the council, because normally the amounts that are requested are much higher than the funding availability. So, in a hypothetical scenario in which you did not get the 16.7, but got 12, instead of 12,000, that still creates value to you. I mean, and it's not what you needed, but that will create some sort of value for you.
That is correct. That is correct. Lately, last year, 2019, we went through 1,120 kids in a program. About a little over 700 were El Centro kids. 73% of them were low to super low income. And that's the thing we've been fighting right now is when do we have to start turning them away because of the costs incurred? And that's one thing that we're always fighting the dollar for, is to not turn anybody away.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Eddie. Can I ask Mr. Ramirez or Ms. Diaz a question, if you don't mind? Personally, I don't think, at least my opinion is that we would not be in a position to fund anywhere close to the $30,000 that you guys requested. With a much smaller, this is hypothetical, this is just me speaking, a much smaller allocation from the city provide some value to you, or is it that you need this amount of money to make the program work?
If the city council were to award a smaller award, that would be greatly appreciated. This is just to get this program off the ground, you know, is what we were asking for the initial budget, but.
And by much smaller, I do mean like maybe $2,000 to $3,000, perhaps.
Any money, any funding is good funding, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. So I seem to always be the one that throws the first numbers out every year to get us started. And so I certainly have no issues with trying to carve out a little bit of money for the Youth Mentor Program for LGBT. And I've been very supportive of them over the years. But my initial comments were just based on the fact that if you have a program that you're trying to get off the ground and for $30,000, I don't know that $2,000 or $3,000 helps that situation. And I think, and I don't want to speak for them, but I don't know that if $2,000 or $3,000 would actually go to that program, because if they don't get the additional funding somehow, that program might not even get off the ground, and then that funding would just go to maybe a different, program that you guys have existing. Would that be somewhat of a fair statement?
No,
Can you come to the podium so we can get recorded?
In the presentation, we already have outside agencies that are looking to help us once this program gets started. Like the food bank is going to allow us to bring our mentees to their cooking classes and learn more about, healthy eating. The biggest one that stepped up so far was mentorship.org. Actually came from Riverside to give training to our prospective mentors and our board members.
So, sir, if you don't mind, so let me ask, we didn't get the benefit of seeing your actual proposal and the specific activities. What were the 30,000 intended for?
The 30,000 was intended to get the youth some type of workshop training, bring in hands-on equipment to where they could, instead of having to go to like a supermarket or some type of retail store, we could get the cash registers and bring equipment in to where they could actually do the training inside the LGBT center instead of having to try to find outside agencies that might take up their normal business hours.
Of course.
Would it be safe to say that the 30,000 is an estimate for you to be able to fund the program to have a larger cohort, and that any reduction of that would just mean that your cohort would be smaller?
It would just be a smaller target, but it would definitely be in the city of El Centro, though.
So if I may, just throwing it out there, 2,500 from each other thing that we added would still give 20,000 to Catholic Charities, 13 and change to ECPAL, and then 7,500 to IV-LGBT.
My personal, I'm not willing to budge on the senior nutrition program at all. I won't come off of that number for me personally, because that's been something that I've been a proponent of supporting the 9 years I've been on this council. And I just think that, I think I might have a little bit more background and knowledge about that program than maybe you do, because I know specifically that program doesn't get the funding from the state and the federal like it used to. And so I would not support that at all. I also think that your comments earlier about that they have opportunities, well, sure, everybody has opportunities. And no disrespect to Woman Haven, I think they're a great program, but I just haven't seen these other organizations holding up $100,000 checks and $200,000 checks like Woman Haven has, and great for them. I mean, I think they've got a great infrastructure. They've certainly got the connections to get those funding sources. But some of these other programs, although everybody has the equal playing field to a certain extent, they have the opportunity to sign a piece of paper and put in an application, doesn't mean that they have the same opportunities because they don't maybe have the same connections. So I would not be in support of reducing those two at all.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
This is always one of the most difficult decisions that we have every year when we're talking about the CDBG activities and public services funding. Historically, we have had very in-depth presentations about the budget shortfalls for House of Hope and senior nutrition. I think that we have tried to assist them to the best of our abilities, and I think that in this situation where we have that funding, that I would also be comfortable with fully funding them. The one program that does give me thought is the youth membership program for the IV-LGBT. I've heard a lot of, in the brief presentation that we've had, it's a startup program. We don't know how many kids are going to be involved. It doesn't seem that they have any infrastructure right now other than some brief training that they received from a third-party agency. Whereas ECPAL has been around for years. They're dealing with trying to facilitate 1,100 kids, which the majority of them come from El Centro and are from a very needy area. And I don't know if you spent a lot of time in that building, but it's not the most...
Where are all these slight comments coming from? Respectfully.
No, I'm just saying,
I mean,
the building itself, I've toured it multiple times, and it does need some assistance. And I know that the diligent staff at ECPAL has worked with very little, and we did not have funding requests from them the last couple of years. So I would be comfortable in giving them that balance in order to assist them with this year.
So I would just like to, first of all, just say I respect my colleagues and I can appreciate your comments, but I would ask you to please not question my knowledge as to whether a building exists and what they do, or a program and who they help. My advocacy up here does not mean I'm turning my back or I'm not familiar with a program.
Thank you, Mr. Oliva. I also would be reluctant to decrease the allocations for Catholic Charities. I think that the return on investment in terms of the services provided to our seniors and to those of us that are most needy it's incredible. So I would not be support of reducing that. My only window, perhaps, providing some startup money for the LGBT is, and it would be a minimal amount of no more than $3,000. I mean, perhaps that's just not enough to really make any significant value for them. And I don't like the idea of reducing PAL because I do know also what they bring to our community. I just saw it as an opportunity perhaps to provide some seed money for that youth mentorship program, which I do think is valuable. But I can go either way. I think maybe in the future we can find a mechanism to provide some funding for the youth mentorship program. That would not be my first preference, but I'm also open to the idea of following the recommendation that's before us. Any additional comments from the council?
I would just simply move my recommendation to a motion.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. So we have moved by Mr. Jackson, second by Mr. Garcia. Is the nature of the recommendation of the motion clear, Stacy? Do we need?
Yes, I have this saved. I'm looking that you're going to be funding Catholic Charities House of Hope at $12,500, Senior Nutrition at $12,000, and El Centro Pal at $16,716. With regards to the other activities, forgive me. Let's see. For the other activities, we're going to fund the program administration, the code enforcement, the 3 housing activities, and Swarthout Park in the amount of $122,488.
Thank you. Stacy, before you leave today, can you print me that and give it to me before I leave? Because I'll need that for my report tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So I just want to say
yes, Mr. Oliva.
to the public, my vote is not so much because I'm against anyone, but it's because I'm for another program, and I'm still for those that are about to be funded. But I just think it's ridiculous that we could not discuss further to help out another organization.
Thank you, Mr. Oliva. Matter passes 3 yes, 1 no, with Mr. Oliva voting no. Thank you, Stacy. Let's move on to item number 13, discussion and necessary action related to, no, I'm sorry, 14. Item 14, mid-year budget presentation. I do want to recognize in the audience, if she's still here, is Vicky still here? Vicky from the, is it this Vicky, right? Yeah. As the council may remember, the council approved the creation of a fiscal sustainability task force who will be looking at making some recommendations to the council on budget guidelines and actions that the council should be taking in the next 3 years to make sure that our balance, our general fund balance remains healthy. And there's 2 members of the El Centro Chamber who are going to be on this task force, and I'm very happy to say that Vicky was nominated by their president, Ann, to be part of this fiscal sustainability task force. So I appreciate you being here, Vicky, because I think this is going to be an important presentation for all of us.
Honorable Mayor and council members, today we have the fiscal year 2020 mid-year budget review. The purpose of this mid-year budget review is to let you know where we stand from July 1st to December 31st, which is 50% of the current fiscal year elapsed. Then this allows us to view into the city's actual revenues and expenditures at this point in time, general fund revenues. As far as total revenues, we received $33,000, 33% of the budget. If we take out the Crookshank factor, we have received 35%. Sales tax is at 37%, but we received the November payment of $1,000, $1 million in January. The MVL and lieu tax, that is, we received it in January to the tune of $2.2 million, and we'll receive the other payment in May. The other taxes, we normally receive the franchise fee from Southern Gas in April. That's around $55,000. In grant and other revenues, we have a grant from Planning Department, Sustainability Planning Grant of $310,000 has not been received yet. So therefore, that's why that section is low. And on fines and other revenues, we have the Prop 172 sales tax, which was received in January. And only thing is that we did lose $155,000 in other agencies with the dispatch. They canceled their contract with us, and we have budgeted $163,000. And we actually had only received, so we lost $155,000 there. We cannot make that up.
Did that also reduce our cost?
No.
No?
No, it's not.
So our cost remains the same, but revenue is
Exactly.
decreased?
It's down. Exactly.
Wow, okay.
And we have fixed cost, and so in communication department, and no, that did not get reduced.
Richard, we did lose the sales tax revenue from that one business that was purchased, or do we know yet if that's?
No, we don't know yet. They made a correction, HDL made a correction, and the impact might be maybe $60,000 for the year, but we're picking up in other areas.
Okay, good.
Expenditures by department, overall.
I'm sorry, Richard, can you go back one
Yes.
second? There's nothing other than the loss of revenue under other agencies. There's nothing out of the ordinary
No.
here.
No. It's just grants, $310,000 for the planning, sustainability, communication grant. There's NTF funding, which we received in January, $60,000. So there's nothing else, no other losses.
Okay.
Expenditures at the December 31st, we're at 43%. General government's 58%. That's mainly because we paid liability and property insurance of $1,100,000 in July, and the LAFCO amount, our fee to them, also in July. Under Public Works, it says 18%, but if we take away the quick check factor, we're at 48%. Engineering is at 37%, but they have a $90,000 professional fees they have not used at this point in time for land mapping services. Planning is at 24%, but that's because it has $310,000 in the planning grant they have not expended at this point in time. Recreation, of course, you got the aquatic center that got a late start, therefore the budget numbers are low in that area. And economic blight elimination, there's some professional fees that have not been paid out at this point in time, incurred.
Anything concerning out of this slide?
No. The good thing is that Crookshank should be finished this year. Expenditures by category, 70% is in salary and benefits. Supply and service at 22% and capital at 8%, which of course, Crookshank is a main portion.
I'm sorry, Richard, can you go back a slide?
Yes.
How do we compare to other municipalities in terms of percentage spent on salaries and benefits?
Normal, this is around every
normal?
spending, yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Expenditure by categories, I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. Fund balance designated, we started the year with 11,726,705 in fund balance. We're projecting the deficit of 1,893,000. Therefore, at June 30, 2020, we should have 9,833,000. And of course, we have our designations, 10% for the economic unknowns, accrued leave liability, vehicle major equipment replacement, and we're putting in a contingency for quick check. So that leaves us a reserve fund balance of 9,833,485.
I think it's just contingency though. But you're anticipating us not having to use that contingency on quick check,
Yes, exactly.
Do we, is that a safe assumption? Yeah, that we will not use it? If we being cautious, okay.
Yes. Budget challenges, general fund, of course, increase in expenditure, salaries, increase based on approved MOUs, rates range from 3% to 6%. Pension, CalPERS 1.9 increase by 2024, and new facilities. The decline in fund balance this year with the ongoing shortfall of 1,893,000. We have one-time expenditures, contributions of 10,000, Crook check $900,000 above what we got funded, and the Aquatic Center of 870, and of course we've added the Explorer program last year of 65,000. In capital for 2020, we had 3.1 million, of which 3 million was for Crook check. Capital needs continue to exist, with some needs being inevitable. Average projected is 640,000 per year. Budget projections. These, we start with 11,726,705, and in 2024, based on this current rate, we'll have a deficit of 1,171,784. Assumptions, 2021, we have salary increases and based on approved MOUs. Fiscal year 22, 23, 24, salary increases based on average change in CPI of 2%. CalPERS increase of 1.9 million by 2024. Aquatic Center increase in expenditures net of revenue of $810,000. Initially, we were told that the expenses might be $1.7 million, but to date, since they're just starting out, we have it at a lower number. So the loss can increase once we're fully in operation. Capital varies approximately $643,000 per year. Getting new vehicles, computers. Supply and services, current level of operations increase $150,000 overall for liability insurance, IVRMA, and PD Explorer program. Status quo, no new programs and positions. This is after an increase in revenue of approximately $1 million per year for sales tax, property tax, and TOT. Of course, those numbers could change as we get further into the year. Next year budget plan, fiscal year 2021 budget. Meet with the director and city manager, discuss actions for next year's budget, reduce the 1.7 million shortfall projected for fiscal year 21, reduce expenses where possible while maintaining services at a current level. The Fiscal Sustainability Task Force established to address fiscal issues and of course come together as a team. The water revenues and expenses, these are the easy ones. Total operating revenues at 55%. Total expenses at 46%. We have an ending working capital of 16,386,415. Wastewater revenue and expenses. Total revenue 35%. Total expenses 18%. And of course, ending working capital of 14,425,748. Any questions?
Thank you for the good news.
Well, once we meet with the task force.
And I think we have our first meeting scheduled coming up.
Yes.
Next week, I think it is, or
right.
Coming up soon. Thank you, Richard. Any questions for Mr. Romero?
Thank you, Richard. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Vicky. Easy job for you. Easy job. Okay, let's move on to, I just want to highlight, Council, I'm sure you read in the report, but it looks like we're getting a handle, Abraham, on the Brucery Avenue Wake issue. You want to just give us some, I know I have your report, but maybe give us some of the good news in person. Yeah, have you smelled anything?
No, it's been much better.
So, so thank you. Just a follow-up. This is on the Labrucia Avenue pump station at Wake Avenue, pump station number 2. And we have been improving or trying different technologies. The latest one that we have, thankfully, is a cheaper technology and is doing a better job. And we are moving forward on, we have selected a consultant for the pump station, the southern pump station relocation, the one that's proposed at Dannenberg and Farnsworth. So a right-of-way consultant is on board, so we're moving along on that. And we've also already approved the design consultant contract to get that going. So as we are making these patches right now on the Brucery and Wake, we're moving full steam on the ultimate solution. So we're moving forward. I haven't received any comments as of late regarding the area. So I think that's good news, and we're just going to keep working to that.
No calls is the good news.
No calls is the good news. No news is good news.
Thank you, Abraham. Thank you for all the work that you've done there. Thank you so much. We need to adjourn, not adjourn, but what's the right term? Meet as a successor agency?
Are you done with your regular meeting?
So we still have public comments, council
Would
reports.
you like to recess this meeting and call to order the successor
Okay,
agency?
so I'm going to recess the meeting, call to order the successor agency to the redevelopment agency. That's item number 16 on our agenda. That relates back to an action taken out earlier today in terms of the the consent agenda. It has to do with the subordination agreement with the Countryside Apartments. So, Brianna, you want to make
Yes,
a
that is
presentation?
correct.
Let me ask, is there any questions from the council regarding this matter? No? Seeing none, I'm just going to take a motion. The girls, I'm looking for a motion for Resolution SA 20, let me guess, 1?
So moved.
Resolution of the successor agency to the redevelopment agency of the City of El Centro, California, authorizing subordination of the regulatory agreement to a new Fannie Mae loan for Countryside and approving site substitution of trustee and reconveyance. So I have a motion by Mr. Jackson, second by
Unless
Mr.
Adriana
Oliva.
wants to say anything.
So what do I say now? Bring it back to council? What's the right term, Betsy?
You've adjourned the successor agency meeting. You'll now return from the
Okay,
recess.
so we've adjourned the successor agency meeting, returning back to council. Public comments, any member of the public wishes to provide public testimony to the council? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comments. Report from the council, Mr. Garcia.
I don't have anything to report at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mr. Jackson?
Real quickly, attended the State of the County, addressed by Chairman Placarte. I thought they did a good job. I thought the usage of the courthouse was
Yeah, it was nice.
was a great background or backdrop, and although it did get a little chilly at the end there. Attended the Air Show Gala. The attendance was a little down this year, I think. I think the Hopeville Carrot Festival and Hopeville
lot of stuff
Reunion.
going on that day.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on, but another great event. Had the opportunity to join our mayor this last Friday with the city of Mexicali, both their police department and fire department. Did a inspection, and I'll let you talk about that further. And then at the last LAFCO meeting, I was voted as the incoming or the new chairman. So this will be my second time as chairman of LAFCO.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
Good job. Mr. Oliva?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the State of the County address. I thought it was great. The video was awesome. I attended the Air Show Gala and was fortunate enough to sit with Councilmember Garcia, Mayor Pro Tem Jackson. Thank you for allowing me to sit with your families. I also had a meeting with the city manager and a prospective company who's looking to assist us if we're so inclined to discuss cost reductions for the city. And so I believe city manager will keep us apprised of that. I also attended the AB 617 meeting, which is the air quality regional committee meeting, and thank you, Abraham, for being there to support. Also attended the Imperial State of the City address this past weekend. I thought it was a great address, the tri-tip cook-off that they have over there in Imperial. The mayor did throw a few jabs at the city of El Centro, but he immediately apologized afterwards, and so I just wanted to go ahead and pass on that apology to you. And then this morning, it was during the brag time, right, you would imagine. And so lastly, this morning I had the Centinela Advisory Committee meeting, and one of the things that we did was we joined with Calipatria's Citizens Advisory Committee to create an ad hoc committee where both institutions are seeking to send a letter to our legislators advocating for additional funding that each institution needs, because they are in need of funding for more programming to assist the inmates in rehabilitation, more facilities. From what I became aware, some facilities are so distraught that whenever we have rain, I know it's only 5 or so days around here, but whenever we have rain, not only do office buildings, but housing units get flooded. And so that's something they wanted to address.
Thank you, Mr. Oliva. Likewise, I attended the State of the County address, and I think it was very well done. The military gala was a lot of fun. Yes, as Mayor Pro Tem Jackson indicated, we met with some representatives from the city of Mexicali, both from their police department and also their fire department. And I want to thank our chiefs for being gracious hosts for our guests. I think sometimes it's incredible to me to think that things that are of little or no use to us can be of such great use in other jurisdictions. So both fire people and police representatives viewed some equipment that belongs to the city of El Centro and that has no useful life for El Centro for a number of circumstances, age, usage, and other factors that things that are just being put away, stored away, that create no value to us, would have a significant amount of value for our sister city in Mexicali. So we are going to be processing a request for the council to authorize the donation of this equipment to our sister city in Mexicali, and hopefully that's coming to us in our March meeting. Marcela, you anticipate?
Yes.
And I think that that's something that is worth noting. The city of Mexicali is our sister city. This equipment has absolutely no use for, no valuable usage for the city of El Centro. And one thing that I've also been thinking about a lot is I think the goodwill that this will provide in Mexicali will provide significant value to El Centro because, let's face it, on a very conservative number estimate, half of the retail sales that comes to the city of El Centro come from Mexicali residents. And so giving back to our sister city in a way that represents very little monetary value to us, but a significant goodwill to our city, our sister city, I think something that will be a great value to the city of El Centro. So I look forward to that. Seeing that, let's see. We need to, I'm sorry, yes.
If I could, thank you for indulging me. I just wanted to do one last plug for the U.S. Census. We're coming up April 1st, and so I just wanted to remind my colleagues, staff, and the public to please participate. We have 42 days left to participate, so please be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to, what's the right term? Recess? No.
You're going to briefly recess to closed session, and then I think I can safely say there will be no reportable action from this closed session, so you would, after returning to report that, adjourn the meeting.
To February
25th. If you could do an adjourned regular meeting, you want an adjourned or special? An adjourned regular meeting to February 25th, please.
What she said.
What she said.
Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to be in closed session and then adjourn
Can I
back.
just get a motion in a second to go into closed
So
session?
moved.
I move by Jackson, second by Oliva. All in favor?
Aye.
Makes it easier to copy your stuff.
Are we staying here for closed session?
Yeah.
We'll be quick.
No, let's just go here.
We'll be quick. Nobody wants to stay out long.
Thank you.
I think everybody's sick.
Richard, did I get your slides?